Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to walk you through one of the favorite parts of cake decorating. That's getting a smooth crumb coat and creating beautiful buttercream rosettes that looks elegant and professional. All right. Cake rule number one, always work with a cold cake. As you can see, I freeze my cake ahead of time. I bake my cake a few days before. I saran wrap them really good. And when it's time for me to decorate, I just take them out the freezer and I get to work. Working with a soft cake will not give you that elegant, smooth finish that you professional look that you see on the internet and that you see on Instagram. All right. Always make sure you are working with a cold, most likely frozen cake to get that beautiful finish. All right. Now let's get back to piping those rosettes. So one of the biggest questions I get is, how do your rosettes hold their shape? And honestly, it all starts long before I ever pick up my piping bag. It starts with the consistency of the buttercream. A lot of people think that the softer the buttercream, the easier it is to pipe. But that's actually one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. If your buttercream is too soft, your flowers won't hold their shape. They'll start looking flat, droopy, and they'll melt into each other, especially if your kitchen is warm. And I live in Florida, so yeah, my kitchen, even though my house will be 68 degrees, because it's 150, 110 outside, that will mess with the consistency of my cakes. So when I'm making my buttercream, I have to take that into consideration, especially if it's for decorating. I want it to be smooth enough to pipe like you see me doing now. It's nice and smooth, and I'm able to smooth my cake, but firm enough so that every ridge from my piping tip stays crisp. Now, also, what I did start doing when I am doing a crumb coat on my cake, which is what I am doing now, I use a different buttercream. So I make one buttercream that I use to smooth my cake, so it can have that. So I'm able to make a beautifully decorated cake. You always want to make sure you crumb coat your cake before decorating any kind of cake, and that is exactly what I'm doing now. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the buttercream and I'm touching the buttercream that's already on there, and I'm gliding along the cake. Don't put your buttercream on a spatula and hit a plain cake and just keep doing that over and over, because then you're gonna get crumbs on your spatula and then you're gonna get crumbs on your buttercream. So how I'm frosting my cake is so that, yes, I am doing a crumb coat, but I also don't want them crumbs to get right back into my buttercream, because I'm not wasting my buttercream, because then again I'm throwing away money in my business. All right. Always make sure you start with a smooth, cold cake. And right now I'm using an offset spatula, what I'm using to get that extra excess of frosting off of my cake. All right. So let's get back to temperature before we start. And note, right now I'm using an offset spatula to get that excess buttercream off of my cake. When I finish this, I'm going to sit it in the freezer for about 5 minutes, or you can stick it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. You want to make sure your cake is nice and firm before you start decorating and piping your rosettes. If your buttercream is soft, your rosettes may not last on that cake. It may fall off the cake because the cake will be too smooth. All right. Now I'm using a Wilton 1M tip. It has that open star, and to me, it gives me the perfect rosette. And you see I'm touching it. That's letting you know it is nice and firm. You don't see no frosting coming off my glove because the cake is nice and firm. All right.
A perfectly
So
iced cake in
now
10 minutes? Yes,
let's get to
please.
piping.
Because who has time?
So the
Not
1M
I.
is one of
And
the
now
most
you can save
versatile
time in your
piping tips
cake
you can
business
own.
too.
Whether you're
Welcome to the
decorating
Station
cakes,
Bakery. This
whether
is
you're
the
decorating
quickest way
birthday
to
cakes,
stack.
wedding cakes, cupcakes, cake jars, this tip creates a beautiful full rosette with very little effort. All right. So I want to grip the top of my bag firmly with my dominant hand, and on the other hand, simply help guide the movement. I don't squeeze from the middle because that creates uneven pressure. Instead, I push the buttercream down from the top of the bag, keeping steady pressure the entire time. Consistency is the key. If you squeeze too hard at the beginning, you'll create a bulky center. If you stop squeezing halfway through, you'll end up with gaps in your flour. The goal is one smooth, continuous motion. To create each rosette, I begin right in the center. I apply even pressure, then slowly rotate my wrist in a circular motion around that center. Once I've completed the circle, I gently release pressure before pulling away. That last part is so important. Instead of yanking the piping bag away quickly, I slowly release pressure first and then lift it away. That gives the flour a clean finish instead of leaving a long tail. Another mistake I see beginners do is moving too fast. This is a work of art, you guys. Art takes time. So please do not rush, all right? Take your time. Buttercream is very forgiving. Slow, controlled movements always makes prettier flowers than trying to speed through your design. As I'm decorating this cake, you'll notice that every rosette slightly overlaps the previous one. This creates a fuller design without leaving empty spaces. And if I notice a small gap, then I simply pipe a smaller rosette or add a few leaves to fill the space naturally. But always make sure you talk with the customer before you do that. All right? One thing I always tell beginners, please do not chase perfection, especially when it comes to rosette. Every single flower does not have to look identical. Real flowers in nature aren't identical, and that's what gives buttercream flowers their beauty. Slight differences actually make the cake feel so much more organic and elegant. So, instead of focusing on one flower at a time, I like to step back every few minutes and look at the entire cake. Sometimes that looks perfect up close, but may need a little adjustment when viewed further away. So, if you are starting your cake decorating journey, don't compare your first cake to someone else's 100th cake. Keep practicing, stay patient, and trust the process because your skills will improve every single cake you decorate. Thank you so much for decorating with me today. If you enjoyed this tutorial and found these tips helpful, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, letting me know what technique you'd like to learn next, and subscribe for more cake decorating tutorials. Until next time, happy decorating.